Let's go. Golazo, episode fucking 14.
Yes, sir.
Hey, okay, I think, dude, I'm losing track. We do this shit every day. We're turning around every day, multiple day, running back, unboxable, always unprogrammable, limitless, knock you out one punch, anybody. And here, James, the undefeated, most delivered, undebated best author, cynical, pound
Clinical.
for pound, lineal, women's strawweight world champion, James Park.
Yeah,
No, okay, so we were going to talk about food today, dude. We've done 2 episodes on that. We could talk about that again in the future. We could do millions of episodes. One thing I did want to tell them real quick, just about angstroms and stuff like that, and then we could dive into something. So in our last episode, we talked about food, and there's a literal scientific measurement you can do, and it's called angstroms of energy within food. And the highest yielding angstrom, like the most energy you can get, is from fruit. And if we are energy, everything's energy, fruit was like vibration. We're just an electrical being. We need the most energy we can get. Like if you're a battery, you need the most energy you can get. And if your brain requires a certain amount of energy to operate at a higher frequency, higher level, you need more energy. How you feel about that there, James?
yeah. I completely agree. I remember we were speaking about just on a very like simple level about what fruits are and where they come from and what they represent. So obviously you're talking about the light energy, and there's literally like a literal measurement for that. And we were talking about fruits compared to other things, how they're literally just made from essentially sunlight, essentially just being out in the open and just absorbing literal direct sunlight from the source, compared to like a potato which is grown underground, or even like a piece of meat which is good in certain senses, but it's an internal part of an animal which doesn't consume any direct sunlight. In that sense, a fruit is a literal piece of sunlight from the source and grows from that, and that's reflected in what you're saying there.
Yeah, exactly. So just eat your fruit and you're gonna be chilling. That's
Yeah.
all I gotta say. Eat fresh, good fruit, juice it sometimes, and you're chilling.
Yeah, and another thing on fasting as well. I just wanted to put this in there. So obviously we spoke about breakfast. You're breaking the fast, and if you think about a car, right? You know what I'm saying? You're putting the brakes on real fast when you have your breakfast, but you start fasting. You know what I'm saying? You speeding up. You going fast. You know what I'm saying? So you putting the brakes on when you break fast. You're going. Ah! You stopping the brakes. You start fasting. You start speeding up. So even in the words, even in things like that, it really tells you a lot about how it is. And Roman can will say exactly the same thing about how he feels when he fasts. You're light as a feather. You can concentrate. You know what I'm saying? You're almost levitating. You're almost feeling on top of the world. You're fast. And that's literally told to you within the words that are used to describe those states.
Yeah, exactly, dude. And the proof's in the pudding. Go fucking do it yourself, champ, and tell me. Eat how you do, and then the next day, eat a couple days, eat how you do it, a couple days, do that. Do just fruits and fruit juices and mainly watermelon, cucumbers, things like that. Dense water, fruits, a lot of glucose in them fuckers, and see how you feel, dude. You're gonna wake up at your alarm, either at it or before it, and you're not gonna be tired at all. You're literally gonna be ready to go. Like that's how it feels. Like shit's undefeated, bro.
Oh, it's undefeated, undisputed. And life's about experience, and it's almost one big experiment. And you need to test things out on yourself, and you need to try different things, different combinations of things, and you will find the right formula and the best formula to be performing at your maximal capabilities. That's that's the goal. That's what you need to do. It's about progress, becoming the best version of yourself possible. And then when you become the best version of yourself, and once you master yourself, then you become fit to create a better version of humanity, and you become fit to take control of nations and control of how things should be going. You know what I'm saying? And that's facts.
Oh yeah, dude. I think the next thing that we should talk about here is revolutionaries. I think we should make that the main topic here. We could talk about a couple of our favorite, what they're known for, different revolutions throughout history. One of the most recent ones, big one, was the communist revolution, of course, that went through a lot of third worlds. Who's your favorite revolutionary, do you think? Like who? I think Napoleon is that if I had a guess for you, because you talk about him a lot.
Yeah, I mean Napoleon's a good example. Um, he was almost standalone as well. There's an author called Stendhal, he's a French author, and he's got a book called The Red and the Black, and which is essentially a book about two ways in which how you would rise to power within the system that existed in those times. So you had the red and the black. You either went into the army or you went into the church, and you had two essential routes which you would use to rise to power. And obviously Napoleon was in the army. He was a military man, and he managed to work his way through the ranks from relatively humble beginnings to start a whole revolution, to get exiled, then to come back. Like, people don't understand that these men, these great men, these revolutionary people, they had the ability, just who they were in themselves as an individual, to rise above the mass members of society, to control and to, do you know, like that is such a special talent and a special skill, to have the will by yourself to transcend the entirety of society and create a whole revolution within a country, to start trying to gain power over time across nations. Napoleon's a great example. I've done a lot of studying. Well, I haven't done a lot of studying personally, but while I was at school, communist Russia and communist China were big topics that were taught to me. So I know quite a lot about that. In terms of other revolutionaries, I mean, in recent history, I think Napoleon would definitely be up there. In ancient history, I don't know. I think Alexander the Great's a pretty cool example. He was only 19 years old when he came through and started dominating the globe. Obviously, there was a different world back then, and those things were slightly, they weren't necessarily easier, but the scope for doing that was maybe slightly bigger. What do you think? What sort of revolutionaries come to mind when you hear that, and who's like an inspiration to you?
I have a lot of inspirations in terms of revolutionaries. The most I think of like recent, like we could go to Spartacus, or Napoleon even was kind of a long time ago. If you're comparing them to like Huey P. Newton, Malcolm X, like I don't know, those are like late 1900s, I mean mid to late 1900s. So way newer. Who's some Russian revolutionaries that you know?
Well, you have the one of the founders. Obviously, you've got Lenin, who
Yeah,
when the Communist Party started gaining power and took over, I think it was the Tsar, or one of the old the heritage, like the royal sort of family that were in Russia. It was Lenin that came through with the Bolshevik Party, and then you had people that followed up, like Joseph Stalin was a really big name, and there were a lot of names involved to do with the communist movement, and eventually it did collapse in the late, what was it, in the late 1990s or some shit like that. I think it was that. Uh, and then they started getting McDonald's and fucking all bullshit in Russia, and obviously now you've got Putin there who's trying to stop all the Western influence coming back, blocking Instagram, Facebook, and all the bullshit that they got over here.
yeah, Lenin was cool. I think of also the dude that I saw all over London when I was in London with you was Winston Churchill.
Mm-hmm.
Was he in 1800s?
He was during the World Wars. I think it was the Second World War that he was the prime minister at the time. I think it was during the Second World War when Nazis were eventually defeated, or well, defeated. But yeah, when they were defeated, I think he sort of, when there's a prime minister and the country wins, and people, someone has to get the credit somewhere, and he's sort of like a national sort of cult hero, the guy that was the prime minister during the time when the evil was defeated and democracy was on top, and we beat the tyrants and whatnot. But Winston Churchill, I mean, in the very next election, after he did that, he got voted out. So he wasn't exactly like completely loved. But when I think of revolutionary, I mean, there's a lot of names and a lot of people that had a lot of influence. You talk about like the Malcolm X's. But when I think of a true revolutionary, I'm talking about a man, even someone like Hitler, who, I'll preface this now, like his actions and what he did were despicable. But at the same time, like, set yourself the goal to become master and dictator of an entire nation, and but for a few mistakes, be on the precipice of taking over the entire world. Okay, so let's put it into perspective here. When I talk about like a real revolution, I'm talking about a man who rises up and everything comes from his command, who gets to the point where he is master, where he's calling the shots. And there's the revolutionaries in different types of way. But if you just Like Hitler was a genius. If you look at what he did, he rose from homelessness and nothing to become the dictator of a country and nearly take over the entire world. That's one of the most impossible things that you could ever try and set yourself to do.
Oh yeah, dude. And he also might just be a symbol for, you know, but either just like you were talking about how Winston Churchill's more of like a symbol for the people, like in what he represents, more of like he did anything, he didn't fight
Yeah,
nobody, bro. Come on.
yeah, no, exactly, and it happened in the during the World War II when the Russians were being invaded by the Germans. Joseph Stalin was the leader of the Communist Party there, and he went away and hid. He went away onto his retreat and went into like a depressive manic episode when he heard the Germans were invading. Was there for like 2 weeks, like in a room, just like. And then he gets a lot of credit because they industrialize really quickly over there, and they've got a lot of manpower, and obviously it's freezing fucking cold there. But they managed to defend against the Germans on those sides, and he gets credit for it. But when the war went off, we're talking about people running in on the front lines, heroes, brave, courageous. The fucking leader of the fucking Soviet Union went away into his little fucking retreat and hid like a bitch.
Yeah, dude. I would definitely be like, yeah, Vice President, it's your turn now, dude. This nigga's done. You don't just 2 week out, and it's not the way it works. But I guess he came back and got shit on regardless. So
Well, yeah, he was, yeah, it was a savage place, and obviously in China as well. Mao is revered even today as one of the greatest men that they've had, Chairman Mao, and some of the shit that he did there. I mean, it was wild. And but I suppose China today is a democratic institution, isn't it? That runs that, isn't that what they call it?
uh, I'm sure all the countries call themselves in some form democratic, but none of them are in any form democratic. As we both. So you're talking the revolutionaries you're talking about that you revere then are like high level, like Genghis Khan level, like take over the world type shit.
Yeah, like Genghis Khan, someone like that is what comes to mind. And obviously, there's different, it depends how you like calculate it, because there could be a revolutionary who doesn't do anything in their lifetime and doesn't rise into the top levels of society. But once he dies, you know what I'm saying? He could have had more influence than anyone ever has. So it's difficult to calculate. But when obviously you've only got one life, and the goal is to live the best life possible, and obviously put the energy into the world that you want to be there. But when I think of revolutionaries, or I suppose it's not necessarily revolutionaries, but when I think of the great men of the past, and when I think of those names, and when I think of the high points, and that those are the sorts of names that spring to mind for me.
Yeah, I think the world always revolves. So we always have revolutionaries, because there's a need for revolutions of the sphere. If you think it's a sphere, or of the sake of geometrical pieces, they have to revolve. So that it seems the last really big people the US had that were revolutionary. I mean, I bet there's going to be people that are going to argue that Donald Trump was revolutionary in a way, but I don't know what he did, besides fucking sign off on a hyper warp speed vaccine delivery for all of us so he can fucking give us all vaccines. I don't know what he did. But also, what human traffickers did he catch? I don't know where, because last time I checked, he was on the fucking list. I'm not sure on that. So
Right,
I
yeah,
bet.
the only people that he caught were the ones that were about to fucking go and fucking spill the beans about all the shit they're doing. Brother said he was quite catching human traffickers. He was just catching the whistleblowers that were going to start fucking revealing the bullshit.
Yeah, well, he was fucking snapping up the narcs, dude, making sure they ain't running their lips. I'm sure, because they're all fucking kids. But regardless, Che Guevara, you know who that is? He's like one of the most popular recent revolutionaries. Che Guevara was like a Colombian revolutionary. He was communist revolutionary. He changed the whole dynamic of politics and shit, and created a war and guerrilla warfare and shit like that in Colombia.
Do you know? I was going to say, but we can go out to that in a sec. When I actually think of recent revolutionaries coming over from the States, one of the names that comes to mind is Nipsey Hussle. Obviously, they killed him. Um, yeah, and if you know what he was trying to do and what he stood for, it's a similar very sort of thing that we stand for, in the sense that instead of getting the hoods to fight against each other, he was trying to unite the people together to fight against the real opposition, which is the system and the people that are oppressing your ass. They got you fighting each other. That's what he stood for. And before long,
Oh yeah, Nipsey Hussle definitely was one, because he created the green flag and the idea of green. It's like red and blue makes green. So he tried bringing the Bloods and the Crips back together. Let's talk about that real quick because that's Revolutionary Black Panther Party, right? The CIA had a COINTEL program to destroy the Black Panther Party. And one of the things the Black Panthers did was they formulated the Crips, and there's areas all over. And the Crips originally were made to protect the communities. Crips means community revolution in progress. So the Crips were established to police their own communities and make sure they weren't getting abused by the actual police, because the police would go in there and like spray them with water. I mean, fucking fire truck water hoses and like beat them and shit like that. You know what I mean? Lynchings, public lynchings, blah blah blah, all that. So they created the Crips so they could like fight back essentially, and that started uh kind of everywhere doing that. You know, you have the Gangster Disciples in Chicago, which started for a similar reason, and then this COINTEL program, the CIA, that's led by Mr. Reagan was president during some of those times, and Reagan hired what's that fuckhead's face for the FBI. Um, he hired this dude to be the FBI coordinator to literally go in and destroy the Black Panther community, destroy the Black communities, and he did that by creating gang wars essentially, and through division, welfare programs, all types of things. Crack.
yeah, and then you hear stories, and you know, like a lot of the stuff that the states were doing in Iran and places like that. You know, they're growing drugs there. And then before you know it, they're getting dropped off in neighborhoods, and before you know it, there's now gang wars over turf and who's selling negative drugs and degrading drugs to the local community.
Yeah, well, his name is Edgar J. Hoover. That's my bad. Edgar J. Hoover was the head of the FBI during that time. He spearheaded the COINTEL program to destroy the Black community and get rid of the Black Panthers. You take the jobs out of the communities, so there's no money. You flood the communities with crack, so they sell crack. You insert gangster rap, which programs creates thought loops of kill that nigga, sell these drugs, which funnels the prison systems. And then they glorify addiction, they glorify killing each other, and it just is an endless loop and a trap. And then the trauma carries on itself. I mean, you kill someone's friend, they're gonna come kill your friend, it's gonna continue, you know what I mean? It's just like you kill a terrorist mom and dad in Afghan, they're gonna have kids that are gonna see it and grow up to be the next ones, you know.
Mm. Yeah, it's like a vicious cycle where it's like, and then you see, you know, you got, you know, your son dies or something, and then before you know it, you know, grandmom's hitting on the fucking crack. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those ones where it's like they need, it becomes such a negative environment that before you know it, the crack becomes a solution, and then before you know it, that's causing the problem again because it's a vicious cycle of now you need to sell crack, and now there's a gang warfare because you know you want to sell as much crack as possible within your area. There's an opposing gang on the other block that's trying to sell it. You know what I'm saying? Someone needs to go, and that's part of how it started. And then you look at places, say in like Mexico, which is essentially run by a cartel, and it gets a bad name because it's seen as something which is opposing the freedom of democracy. And if you look at it with a proper eyesight, you can actually see that it's one of the last revolutionary places which is putting up a fight against the tyrannical and fucking disgusting actions of the fucking bullshit system which we're put into.
Oh yeah, half the cartel shit we see is propaganda. It's like literally like one of the big guerrilla warfare revolutionary things against the government, like to make money. Because if you don't know, monetary inflation through the Federal Reserve controls the fucking dollar amounts in every other country, you dumb fuck. So we literally make the third world countries on purpose through economics. It's not, you know, but okay, so let me explain a little bit of the cartel. Yeah, there's a lot of dickhead cartel that sell drugs and fund themselves with drugs and kill people, decapitate people, blah, blah, blah. The US government does all that, you dumb fuck, for one. So,
Yeah, and the cartel ain't
yeah,
raping babies. Put that out there.
yeah, they're not raping fucking kids and having tunnels under synagogues, fucking raping kids. But either way, the US government does that, so hold them responsible too, dumbass. They have Guantanamo Bay, they have that little island um out in the middle of nowhere where they do shit on too.
Oh,
You know that little
yeah, yeah. The only difference though is that the government are fighting for the good. That's the only difference.
yeah, what good?
Yeah,
Good fucking 3-year-old pussy.
yeah, no, but that's how people justify it. Yeah, but it's fine because they're fighting for the good and they're fighting for freedom and democracy. So it's fine when they do it, even though they're doing the exact opposite of that. But yeah,
The government funds one of the cartels and runs the drug operation that the other cartel is fighting. The government funds one of the cartels and owns all of them and funds it all. It's a proxy thing, just like they funded the fucking people in Afghanistan to guard heroin fields on the CIA payroll that you could look up. So you have the Los Zetas, which were established to fight corrupted invaders in their land. The Los Zetas transformed into a cartel Jalisco New Generation out of Guadalajara. That's the biggest, strongest, most feared, real revolutionary cartel right now. They're fighting the bought out US government Sinaloa cartel. It's bought out by Spanish influence, people outside of the country. And what they don't show you in the propaganda is the Jalisco New Generation cartel during the last earthquake housed and fed all of the people. What they don't tell you is they take care of the people, and the other police are bought out by the cartel and all corrupted, so they fight them and they protect their. So one of the things, let's say, Black Panthers, right? Let's say the police came in and arrested Martin Luther King Jr.
hmm
What do you think that he would sit in jail for the rest of his fucking life? Would he not? In prison?
Oh, yeah, he would be gone. He would be rotting.
Yeah, yeah, it's because they got the black community completely brainwashed to kill that nigga, but run from the police that lock you up for absolutely nothing. Because they got them completely brainwashed. The cartel, if their leader gets kidnapped, they're going and freeing that nigga from enemy lines.
That's
If the black people's leader get kidnapped, they ain't going behind enemy lines and freeing shit.
yeah,
They're sprinting off from the police and killing the next nigga next to them that's trying to help them.
yeah. But and here's the thing as well. It's people. A lot of it's such a propaganda machine that they don't even think it's possible, or they don't even think you could do that. There's a gorilla song that I was listening to earlier, and it said they're a scary gargoyle on a tower that's been made with plastic power. They don't really have power. It's just people conforming to the propaganda and bullshit. That shit is not real. It's plastic power. You just need to get to the point where you'll fucking escape the brainwashing, become unboxable, see shit how it really is, and their entire system will crumble. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, dude, Mexico's too close to the US for comfort too, I think. Like it's literally can just come over the border like the Mongols, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I remember you said, I think it was on the CIA's website or something, the cartel is literally listed as their greatest threat, apparently, to United States fucking some fucking bullshit, whatever it is.
Oh yeah, there's a existential threat list the United States government has. The cartel has been revolving pretty much the most like scary for them ever. Also, is a black messiah because there has not really ever been a black dude yet in the US that was able to absolutely unite everybody.
But that's what Nipsey Hussle was trying to do. That's what Tupac was trying to do, and they both got shot. What a fucking coincidence. Look at all the names that have got shot. You got Beatles, John Lennon talking about similar things in Britain, getting his ass shot. People that come forward doing these things before long get killed. And it's not by mistake, and it's not by some rival gang that Nipsey Hussle got shot by. That shit is fucking CIA. That's XXX Tentacion as well. Congratulations. It keeps happening. How long is it going to take people to realize that the people that are trying to do the right things keep getting killed on purpose so they can continue their sick fucking game?
Yeah, by the Jews.
They got killed by Satan. They got killed by Satan.
Who killed Jesus?
The Romans,
What were they?
Italians.
No, it's Jews, bro. Is the remember the Gentiles and the Jews?
I thought it was a Roman emperor that was controlling the area that was put over there. I thought it was, I can't remember his name. Some Roman,
Con
I can't remember his name.
Constantine.
It might have been, yeah. It was something to do. It was a Roman emperor. I'm pretty. It was under Roman control, and apparently he was spreading a bunch of bullshit. So he just fucking was like, "Fuck this," got his ass fucking put on the fucking cross. Which, by the way, I walked down the road earlier, and then there's an antique shop where I live, and they got Jesus, like a big life size model of Jesus on the fucking cross. Shit was retarded.
Yeah, but I've been to that though. The Jewish people killed Jesus.
Yeah,
Like, fake
what
Jews.
yeah, what it says in I don't specifically know what happened, but he did die when he was 33, and there are 33 ladders, Jacob's ladder on the vertebrae of the spine.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't have nothing against Jews, man. I just don't think they should be tunneling under synagogues, raping kids and shit.
Yeah, and again, we'll state it again. It's nothing to do with Jews bigger picture. It's just a certain group of people that might identify predominantly as that thing. And there's definitely a bunch of people that are doing it who don't identify as a Jew. But there's definitely something similar over the course of those people. And that's why when I describe it, I talk of it as a spirit and a typology, as something which transcends race and what things you identify with, but it's a type of person that you are, your physiology, your physiognomy, a type of person that you are. And essentially they're sick, degraded, unhealthy fuckers who have been fucking over the earth and fucking over our fucking future generations of children, fucking drinking there, like doing all this, and it's fucking disgusting.
Yeah, like the Greek story mythology that well, I don't know if it's mythology actually, but the story of Kronos.
I don't know in particular detail. Go on, say it.
Kronos, Zeus, Poseidon, Hades. Like the story's like this he like eats his kids. Like Kronos eats his kids and like that's how he gets his power and shit. And like his wife one time got sick of him eating his kids, like hid Zeus, and Zeus came back with like electricity, like power, and killed Kronos. And now Hades rules the underworld, Poseidon rules the seas, and Zeus is like the overlord.
Damn. So you think it could be possible that these gods that have been spoken about, they might have actually existed?
I'm just saying that's dangerously close to what's going on, whether it's parable or whatever, because Corona, like Mother Nature gets pissed that the freak show father is eating the kids, saves one of the kids through like coincidence and chance with electricity, like a Nikola Tesla or some shit,
Yeah.
uses electricity and energy and like lightning to overtake like the dad, kill the dad. So he can't eat the kids no more. And then the kids go rule separate like areas. And then after that, actually, it goes further because then the dudes and the women, like the humans, because those are gods, then the humans start not worshiping the gods anymore and go to war. Like in like that's kind of the story of Greek mythology and
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah, because and then so that was like ancient Greece, what we call it is the stories of Homer, the Greek epics. And then after that, you get people like Socrates and Plato, these philosophers that come through, and then before long, the Greeks, Athens had a war with Sparta, and Sparta actually ended up winning that. And the Greeks will tell you Thucydides, he was one of like the generals at the time, and he was one of like the first historians, and he wrote stories. And I can't remember what island they went to. It might have been Melos or something. And they went there and they said, "You're on our team." And the other guys were like, "No, we're allied with Sparta." And basically what they did is they sent all their troops in there. They raped all the women, killed all the men, and sold all the children off to slavery. That's the sort of shit that was going on. And that's the sort of shit which still goes on.
Oh yeah, dude. I remember one of the first things that you came back to me with when I met you, when we were talking about just like this higher level shit in general. You were like talked about Magnitogorsk. You remember that?
Yeah,
Break that,
Magnificus, man.
yeah, break that down.
Well, this was from when I was at college, and I was looking at looking at Russian communist history, and there's a city called Magnitogorsk, and it's similar to how the United States uses their prison systems today, which is essentially slave labor. The the Russians had a thing called the Gulag, and they still do, and the Communist Party still does, which is essentially slave labor for political prisoners or people that don't submit to the power of the tyrannical government. And Magnitogorsk was essentially because in Russia there's like Siberia, these cold sort of places where like the Siberian tiger lives, like these. So there's this freezing cold place called Magnitogorsk, which was used to like it's like factory production and shit, and you basically just get sent there. It's one of the most depressing looking sort of places in the world, and it's freezing cold, and you just get sent out there to fucking work in a factory. It's basically just slave labor.
Yeah, I think that shit was funny. You brought that up to me. That shit made you paranoid. I feel like
What?
I feel like you thought the city was just gonna erect barriers to any roads leaving and just bring in fucking the military and have you guys work. Well, I think, dude, if they roll out COVID again, bro, I think they're gonna do FEMA camps and shit. They actually had a thing for it, like set up, like they're trying to like pass a bill and shit for FEMA camps. Like, you know what the FEMA camps are, right?
they're yeah. I remember you saying, and on that thing of COVID, they're slowly bringing it back in as well. I'm starting to see adverts, not to do with vaccines for COVID, but vaccines for shingles and flu, and they're starting to bring them out a lot more. I'm starting to hear stuff about that shit's slowly coming back in. That's a little thing we started talking about. Wait to see what happens. But what about these FEMA camps?
They're just like little FEMA is a natural disaster responding group in the US. And usually they respond. And when there's a natural disaster or an emergency, there's military intervention and there's martial law that happens. So there's the upholds. So no laws exist essentially. So they can do anything. And what they would do is they would say COVID, they quarantine a place. They'd bring FEMA in the military, put everyone in like literally these pods. They bring FEMA pods in and they look like just little prison cells that you put next to each other. And that's how you do it. It's a wrap.
Yeah.
There's a
Don't the schools and the big Walmarts and these things look like little prison camps as well?
oh yeah, dude. Dude. The schools, like schools, whole infrastructure and like their brick buildings, Walmart's, like a couple different places, like are literally built like prisons. Like for like the windows have metal fucking protectors on them, slide up. Like there's thick cement. Like all this is already like all the school. Well, you know about the because people are gonna say this is reach. The schools and all that shit are set up just for that, like for war, like put people in prison camps, like if they have to, shit like that. And if you want to argue that, then you don't know shit because you know about the Autobahn?
The Autobahn.
Yeah,
What about it?
the Autobahn is the Germans engineered like the perfect highway system and shit, and it was perfect for the military. And
Mm.
our fucking one of our presidents convinced everyone, like tricked the whole world into thinking we needed public roads. And it wasn't like because we needed roads or anything, or because it was cool to get back and forth, but it's because like the military accessibility the Germans created with the
Oh,
Autobahn.
dude, even score. I think I even heard fucking Jordan Peterson say this, and he's part of the fucking their bullshit. He literally said the schools themselves were designed and they got the influence from like a military, I think it was from Germany, where they're trying to get obedience in the younger generations to do what they wanted them to do. The literal schools, like, just think about it. You're building a school for our children, and say, for instance, we think we need a school. There's 100 million ways you could build a school, and you build it like a prison and create it to make people obedient.
And in a box because like dude we could like think about what beautiful architecture like everything is a setup, bro, even down to the post office, even down to the DMV you go to and our government buildings that we like. It's not like we get access to the White House. The DMV is shaped like a box. It demoralizes you. It turns you into a number, dude.
A whole
It does shit to you mentally, even like
and
even down to the potholes in the roads and shit.
the whole shit's the setup. And you know what made me laugh the most? I remember I said this to you and we were laughing about it. So I was out in the States and I got hit by a car, right? And I was speaking to the insurance company that buddy who hit me went through, and I got a tiny payout because obviously I didn't get injured. It's basically impossible for me to get injured. Dude came in at fucking 300 miles an hour. I damn near broke the car in half. But yeah, either way. So his insurance company was State Farm. I mean, I was just there laughing. Like they would even put an insurance company called State Farm. They're literally farming your bitch ass, and they're telling it to your face. It's literally a farm. You're getting farmed. You're getting fed like a fucking farm animal. You're getting put in a cage like a farm animal. Congratulations, you're being farmed, motherfucker. And we escaping. We might be two of the only people that have escaped. and we're trying to bring as many as we can with us.
Yeah, so I'm not a proponent for the cartel either. I do like the revolutionary group. I think one of the things that, as far as leaders, strategies, advancement from here on, I want to just, we got 4 minutes left here. I want to just end with this. Then you could expand on, we can end. So the cartel Jalisco New Generation, led by a dude named Amicio, which who actually, for the sake of war, and I'm gonna leave some of this shit out. Nemesio is the head of CJNG, and the government, the US, he's the most wanted person from the US and Mexico. And they put a fucking $10 million bounty on him. So the Mexican government, who's bought by the US, and their president is selected by the US, and the US is linked to Israel and the Great Britain and these other powers that are all just part of the king crown that came from hundreds of years ago and went all over the world conquering shit. And that's all part of pilgrims that goes even deeper, but blah blah blah. They said they're gonna get the head of the cartel. They're gonna cut the head out the snake, and the operation's gonna flop. So they set out to Guadalajara to get this nigga. You know what happened?
No.
All the roads to enter to Guadalajara were blocked off with burning barricades, shielded. Anyone close got shot at, and anyone who tried flying into the airspace got blown up. That's when they realized, oh fuck, we can't get this nigga. They haven't got him since. They haven't seen him since. They don't know where he's at. They don't know who's running the cartel. They don't know if he's still alive. They don't know if he died 2 years ago. They don't know how it's still going. So when it comes to the Autobahn, and it comes to military, and it comes to a plan to guard a revolutionary, it seems like that was laid out.
Yeah, definitely seems that way. And a lot of things which seem to be coincidence when you start figuring out what they might be used for or what could be the case seem to be less of a coincidence than you first thought.
Exactly.
Yeah, that we could go so deep in on shit. To be fair, we've got a couple minutes left here. We could get another episode out today. We feeling?
Oh yeah, dude, easy work. I think we can get another episode in here.
But yeah, no, that I want to. What do you want to talk about next one? We'll set up a little topic.
Yeah, so we talked about some revolutionaries here, a little bit of cartel, what's going on around the world. I think we take a step back from complete seriousness, lack of actually, because we're comedians and all of this is bullshit. Everything we say is bullshit. We're comedians. Allegedly, all of it. The next, the next story we should talk about, I think we should break down our trip to Italy and what completely and what we took from it, what we saw, what it's like, and just like the contrast, compare and contrast.
Yeah, we'll do a story time for you guys. So we'll do a story time. Roman and James going out to Italy. Yeah, we'll give you a little story time. Get a little. We'll give you guys a little story time.
Crowns and Jewels, tap in Crowns and Jewels, Amazon, $9.99, James Parker. Read that shit.
Yeah, go have a look at that shit. We'll give you guys a little story time about our trip to Rome. Shit really was a trip. Yeah, all the crazy shit that happened from the start to the beginning. You know, we had run-ins with the police literally straight when we got there. We had people fainting. We had people giving us fresh or frozen fish. So
I had a fight taxi, all types of shit, man.
Alright.
Fucking sex, drugs, and rock and roll, man. Episode fucking 14 on the way, 15.
Yeah, 14. 14 now.
All right.
All right,
Peace
peace
out.
out, brother. Peace.